Valletta, on the Mediterranean island of Malta, a city fashioned by its relationship with the sea and steeped in maritime history. Over the centuries, the harbour has hosted many fleets, and this year welcomes 107 of the world's top racing yachts for the 37th edition of the Rolex Middle Sea Race.
The race is an offshore classic. It's right up there with the Rolex Sydney Hobart, the Rolex Fastnet race. It really is one of the best offshore races in the world.
With the start rapidly approaching, the final preparations are underway. For the organisers, the media, and the crews. Down on the dock, an international array of racing yachts, big and small, professional and Corinthian, prepare to embark on this classic offshore challenge. Amongst the contenders for the overall winner's title are the local favourites Arti and 2015 runners-up Mascalzone Latino, last year beaten by just 8 seconds on corrected time, and this year with a score to settle.
Rolex Middle Sea Race, very tough one to win. We're racing in the Mediterranean in October, starting and finishing in Malta and sailing around Sicily. 600-mile race, could be won by small boats, big boats, just depends on who keeps going and what happens with the weather towards the latter part of the race.
The race has a reputation for being particularly challenging, navigating around erupting volcanoes, dodging inescapable wind holes, and dealing with boat-breaking squalls. It can be a minefield of pitfalls. And it's not just the sailors who need to be on their game, but the media following the race too.
It's a real tricky race to photograph. The boats set out from Valletta and up through the Straits of Messina, round Stromboli, down to Favignana, round Lampedusa, and back to Malta. And as a photographer, you sort of need to, get yourself in the right place at the right time and, get them in the action where you'd like them to be. So that's the biggest challenge that we face. But before that, we've got a small matter of the race start.
And so to one of the most colourful and iconic sights in sailing, the start of the Rolex Middle Sea Race. The small yachts get underway first and jostle for position in the light winds of Valletta's spectacular Grand Harbour. Lining the ramparts, enthusiastic crowds enjoy the spectacle as the medium-sized yachts start. And surprisingly, the first Maltese yacht to lead the fleet out of the harbour is Unica, a 40-foot yacht sailing double-handed for the very first time, crewed by John Coquilla and owner Jamie Samet.
We're going to try and push to do well, but priority is to finish the race.
And then for the Maltese photographer Kurt Arrigo, the chance to photograph the biggest and fastest yachts in the race, all vying to be the first home. 88-foot Rambler, the biggest yacht in the race and line honours favourite. And Aguirre, an ultra-modern 82-foot Maxi making her first appearance here and determined to make an early impression with the most daring of starts.
3 seconds to burn.
The Maxi comes barrelling in on the pin end of the line, forcing her right of way and putting the cat amongst the pigeons. A bullish manoeuvre from American skipper Clark Murphy as they make their intentions clear right from the start and throw down the gauntlet to Rambler.
So this is the first Middle Sea race for me and for some of the people in the crew. We were very pumped up about it. It's almost a sprint in 3 days. And that's a tiring sprint, but that's what's exciting about it.
After their audacious start, Aguirre leads the big boat fleet out of the harbour, leaving Rambler trailing in their wake. But in their efforts to press their early advantage, disaster strikes. They push too hard and rip one of their key sails, a major setback.
Okay, so coming straight into a bit of drama, unfortunately. Our code 0 has broken right across the seam. Just had to take it down, put up the headsail quickly to keep ourselves going, and then put up our A5. We're going to need that code 0 this race. It is a bit of a problem, but hopefully this A5 now is going to be our new code 0.
Keeping a cool head in a crisis is one of the attributes that Mike Broughton brings to Clark Murphy's team as on-board navigator. But having sailed this race 8 times before, he's also highly experienced and ultra-competitive.
A race like this, is full on, straight from the prep signal. We're straight into it. I don't really understand racing for fun. When you go racing, you go give it all you've got, and that's all the level we do it. And sometimes when you're making tactical decisions, you get a little bit wrong. You've got to think about what went wrong there and make it right. If you think it's easy and it's all going to go straight forward, then you're missing something. A bit like playing poker. If you don't know what's going on, then you're about to go down. It's enjoyable, but it's racing, and we're pushing it as hard as we can.
Aguirre is a racer cruiser, and realistically, it'll be hard to beat a thoroughbred racer, especially a super-fast carbon-built yacht like Rambler.
If Rambler miss a beat somewhere, we've always got a chance in terms of taking class. There's a lot of other bigger boats that's going to making it difficult as well. The result's up to the gods, as it were.
As the fleet continues to race hard towards Sicily, the crews have the prospect of a long and arduous night ahead. And so too for photographer Kurt Arrigo. His task is to get ahead of the fleet so that he can photograph them at dawn the next morning, a journey that will take him by plane from Malta to Sicily, and then by car to the top of the Messina Strait, a key location for the yachts on the racecourse. For everyone, the exhaustion is starting to tell. And at 3 in the morning, Kurt finally arrives at his hotel. Through the night, the fleet beat a course across the Mediterranean, and by dawn, the leaders find themselves working their way up towards the Strait of Messina. Rambler has a narrow lead, but snapping at her heels are the chasing pack, Wild Joe, Trifork, Mascalzone Latino, and Aguirre. By dawn, they have successfully reined in Rambler and are now back challenging for the lead.
So sunrise, after about 20 hours in the race, we are literally in the Straits of Messina. As we come in, one of the more interesting places in the world to sail through. Very tight, jibing with about 6 other boats. We're at the front of the fleet, which is good news. We caught up to some of the other ones in the middle of the night. It's a little bit tight in here, but great fun.
Meanwhile, at the hotel, after just 3 hours of sleep, Kurt is also up and discussing the plan for the morning with helicopter videographer Adam Brown. There is a threatening storm front blowing in, which will scupper plans to capture any sunrise shots.
The plan so far, it doesn't look exactly like it's going to be a good morning. Looks a bit of cloudy, possible bit of rain. The front part of the fleet will possibly get to Stromboli, which will be about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a bit of breeze, nice light, get the money shot.
But as the team take to the air in the helicopter, the storm front is not just proving problematic for them, but for the fleet too. As they exit the sheltered strait, vicious squalls ambush the lead boats, catching Aguirre off guard and tearing through their spinnaker. The loss of a second sail is a major setback, and it now gives them a mountain to climb if they're going to win the race.
We came out of the top of the Straits of Messina. Lots are happening. As we jibed round, we had a trough line come bear down us, which is ready to cause something more rain, more wind than they were expected. And unfortunately, the spinnaker's ripped and we had to get it down. The loss of the spinnaker is a bit of a hit. We lose a vital weapon in our armoury, unfortunately. So that's not great.
Ahead, as Rambler approaches Stromboli, Kurt's meticulous planning pays dividends. He's in the right place at exactly the right time to capture the leaders rounding the volcano and photograph the most iconic moments in the race.
There's somebody up the mast, which is nice, and we can get close, looking backwards, looking to that patch, looking this way. That's kind of nice, so it's a bit more interesting with the cloud. And just get a wide shot. And there's some activity on the bow as well on the...
With a great set of shots in the can, it's mission accomplished. Back on board Aguirre, despite losing time, spirits are high. And as Clark Murphy revels in his very first Stromboli rounding, at the same time he and the crew are fixed on fighting their way back into this race. And then comes exactly the opportunity they've been waiting for. Up ahead, Rambler runs into trouble. one of the race's notorious wind holes ensnares both the leader and second-place Trifork, forcing them to park up and allowing the chasing pack to close the gap. Ready to take advantage, both Aguirre and the Anglo-Italian crewed Mascalzone Latino. This Cookson 50, giving away more than 30 feet in length to Aguirre, is sailing a fantastic race and, remarkably, is keeping up with the biggest of the yachts.
We're way ahead of schedule. We are still surrounded by big boats. We've got Aguirre just behind us. We've got Wild Joe and the Volvo 70 and Caro just on our windward side. So we're mixing it with the big boys, but quite honestly, the weather is doing its own thing.
Mascalzone's faultless performance in the race makes them one of the lead contenders for the overall winner's title, a feat they came agonizingly close to achieving last year.
Winning the Middle Sea Race is extraordinarily hard, and you have to have a bunch of things go your way. And last year we almost got there. We got within 7 seconds of our competitor B2. Coming into this year, doing the race again, you feel like, oh, we almost won it last year, but we deserve to win it this year. But it's a blank sheet of paper, and you have to start from scratch, and we have to sail extraordinarily well again. We have to get everything right we got right last year, and put ourselves in contention. And that's all we can do, and that's all we can hope for. Feels like a little bit of unfinished business. We'd love to do it again with this group of guys, you know, the same boat, same group of guys, and just push it over the line this time and take it home.
As the clouds lift over Stromboli, the smaller boats in the fleet round the volcano in near perfect conditions. Among them, Mascalzone's closest rival Arti, who's also battling it out for the overall winner's title. The Maltese 40-foot entry is the most successful yacht in the last 10 years of the race's history, having won the title twice and now challenging for her third victory. And behind them, another Maltese success story. Unica, the Solaris 42 sailed by John Coquilla and Jamie Samot that had such a great start, is still sailing beautifully and leading the double-handed class. Construction boss Jamie Samot was only introduced to yacht racing after winning the contract to build the new Royal Malta Yacht Club. It was a fortunate coincidence that ignited a newfound passion for the sport.
The work that we do is very precise, and craftsmanship has to be top-notch, or else it's no good. So in my day-to-day life, I'm normally very much in control, yes. Going out at sea is like, it's my relaxing side. It's when I'm sailing, it's totally different. I'm super stressed at work, and I'm super relaxed at sea. Doing this two-handed was always on my bucket list. Preparing the boat is so different. You have to do like single-line reefing, we've got jib on hanks, and you know that it's going to be tough staying awake most of the night. I'm doing it with John Coquilla, sailmaker. He's a brilliant guy. We did thousands of miles together now. I get along with him very, very, very well. And I hope we'll be better friends than we are before the race.
The Rolex Middle Sea Race has been described as the most beautiful racecourse in the world. And as the final boats in the fleet round Stromboli at sunset, they're able to enjoy a special moment.
Anyone that goes to sea, there's always a few minutes where you look around and go, yeah, this is why we come out here.
You turn your phone off, you turn your computer off to get away from normal life.
It is spectacular, and it can be very, very humbling.
You're just dealing with Mother Nature.
At the end, you don't want it to finish.
It does give a lot of people time to reflect on what's important in life and just actually in the enjoyment of living.
Day 3, and the leading yachts have now navigated along the northern coast of Sicily and rounded Favignana as they head south for the first time in the race. George David's Rambler has opened up a comfortable lead and is setting the pace. And unless they can be caught, the all-carbon Maxi is now on course for taking monohull line honours for the second year in succession. Behind, Aguirre is pushing hard to catch them, but the loss of 2 key sails has thwarted their attempt to effectively challenge for the lead, and they've slipped to 7th place. However, for skipper Clark Murphy, the race is as much about the sharing of a long-term personal dream with friends as it is about winning.
For 20 years, I've wanted to be here. The guys that we're sailing with, most of them have done it before, a couple of us haven't, so we're kind of putting the band together for one of the great races. I also sail with my 4 teenage children. My son Liam's on the race with us, so there's another experience of being together on a race. And you can't deny the camaraderie of having 15 people going at it. We sail well, we laugh hard, we compete hard, and you come out having a great time, and we do well.
Back in Valletta, Maserati, the all-new 70-foot trimaran, crosses the line to take multi-hull line honours, as the weather conditions change for the monohulls still out at sea.
So what we've got here is a transition zone that has appeared basically with 2 winds colliding and causing a windless area around Favignana. And the leading boats in the smaller boat pack behind, look at Artie right up there. Amazing for a 40-footer, and you know, they've won the race twice before, and they're really in a good position, pushing really hard. And you've got to look at Mascalzone Latino as well, leading that pack of the big boats coming down the west coast of Sicily. These 2 boats could be vying for the overall win in the Rolex Middle Sea Race.
With Mascalzone now finding a strong breeze, they're in good shape.
Currently with 3rd monohull on the water, which is pretty good for a little 50-footer. We've got Rambler obviously in front, and one of the Volvo 70s, but we've gone well. We've managed to hold the 60-footer Wild Joe behind us, and you know, we're just counting down the miles, looking after the gear to make sure that we keep racing the boat to the end.
However, no such good fortune for Artie. As they negotiate the transition zone off Favignana, like many others, they become trapped in a windless hull that refuses to release them. And Unica, although leading the double-handed class, is also finding the slow-going frustrating.
We had a very rough night trying to save the shifts, and we gained some positions. And let's hope that tonight we'll have the beat that's promised to try and keep up our lead.
And sure enough, as the sun goes down, the wind does fill in, giving the smaller boats a much-needed boost. Ahead, Rambler power their way to the finish line. Having successfully fought off challenges from both Trifork and Wild Joe, they take the Line Honours title in a time of 2 days, 14 hours and 3 minutes. No race record, but regardless, a rewarding victory.
This is the most beautiful race course in the world. I've said that before, and that's a fact. I mean, those volcanic islands on a clear day, spectacular. It's part of the joy of sailing is to have a good group of people to do it with.
Through the night, Aguirre sails a great final leg, sailing eastward now back towards Malta and moving up the leaderboard as they close in on the finish. By mid-afternoon the next day, they finally reel in Mascalzone Latino as they approach Valletta.
So the last little bit of a race which has been really exciting and demanding, challenging and difficult at times, but also a lot of fun.
Despite the setback of losing 2 of their key racing sails, they finish 4th across the line. A fine first effort for Clark Murphy and his crew.
This race I've heard about for 20 years, and it surpasses expectations. Volcanoes, driving through the Straits of Messina at dawn. You know, we parked, we took off, we parked, we caught people, we lost them. It's everything you've heard about. It's a great race, and to do it with my son was great fun. Sailing with the family is always a blast, and we have fun sailing together.
And finishing just 23 minutes behind, having sailed a superb race, the Italian 50-foot yacht Mascalzone Latino. They managed to stay with the big boats from start to finish, and in so doing lead the race for the overall winner's title. Setting a race time which, once corrected on IRC handicap, will be hard to beat.
It's been an amazing race. It's been really, really amazing. Guys have worked incredibly hard and sailed the boat really well. And You know, as a team, I think we've done a great job. But now we've got the incredibly frustrating bit, you know, hoping and praying that it was enough, because, you know, I've done all the maths and I've started to look at it and I've got like a good feeling about it, but I've had a good feeling about it before and it hasn't worked out. So I'm trying to keep my emotions in check for another 22 hours or whatever it is, and then we'll know. We'll know soon enough.
Despite Artie's battle right to the finish, the fickle wind proves their downfall and they're simply unable to better Mascalzone Latino's corrected time.
We're doing really, really well, and last night it just went the other way for us. Stopped without wind. Got stuck in a hole, and the rest is history, I suppose.
As the breeze fades away out at sea, so do other potential challenges like teasing machine and foggy dew. And whilst a number of yachts are still racing, none of them are now able to mathematically better the Italians' corrected time. And so Mascalzone Latino are announced as the overall winners of the Rolex Middle Sea Race. For the small and double-handed yachts in the fleet, it has been a long race. Unica crossed the finish line exhausted, but their race time of 4 days and 15 hours is good enough to hand the Maltese duo victory in the double-handed class, beating 9 other yachts along the way.
We're very happy we're here. We might come first, but the most important thing was to do the race and finish it. That was the best experience because it was amazing. It was just an amazing race.
And for photographer Kurt Arrigo, who returns with some great photos, the race has also proved a successful one.
Yeah, it's been a great race. As always, it's been challenging, exciting, but despite all that, we had some really, really good conditions. To be honest, I think this one is probably one of my favorites. It really sums up the whole race. And there's just one final last thing that I need to cover, which is the prize giving of the Rolex Middle Sea Race.
And the Rolex Middle Sea Race trophy goes to Mascalzone Latino and Vincenzo Onorato. Well done.
And so the prize is collected by navigator Ian Moore and owner Vincenzo Onorato, who is disappointed not to have been on board for this memorable victory.
Sono molto dispiaciuto, ma preoccupato anche di non essere stato a bordo, perché quando ritorneremo l'anno prossimo, se nel caso non faremo un buon risultato, la colpa non può che essere che mia.
Next time on The Spirit of Yachting, we're in Australia for another offshore classic, the Rolex Sydney Hobart Race.